Okay, hello and welcome everyone to today's MSc Cancer Program Virtual Open Day. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Shasmin Jan, a current medicine student here at UCL and your chair for this evening. We hope that this session is going to address those specific questions you might have about the course, as well as help you get a deeper insight into what it's like to just be a master's student here at UCL. So I'm delighted to welcome today's speakers. Firstly, we'll have Dr. Sarah Koushyar, who's going to provide you with a summary of the program itself, and that's going to be followed by two of our current MSc program students. You'll be given the opportunity to ask questions to our panelists directly towards the end of the session during our Q&A part. The session is being recorded, so once the session's over, we'll upload it to our website. So to introduce our first speaker, we've got Dr. Sarah Koushyar. Dr. Sarah is a teaching lecturer at the Cancer Institute, and the topics that Sarah teaches range from scientific skills all the way to cellular and molecular biology in both a normal and cancerous setting. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Sarah.
Thank you so much, Jasmine, for the kind introduction, and it's my absolute pleasure today to be giving you an overview of our MSc Cancer course. So hopefully my slides will give you a bit of an insight into our course, what research we do, how the course is set out. And as Jasmine introduced me, my name is Sarah Koushyar. I'm the Deputy Lead for MSc Cancer, and we also have the program lead, Professor John Hartley, as well. So firstly, I just wanted to show you why UCL, why would you choose us? Well, luckily for us, we were chosen as the University of the Year, according to the Times, the Sunday Times, which is a huge accolade to have. But not only that, if you actually look at our teaching excellence framework, we can see here, so our overall rating in 2023 was silver. So for student outcomes, you can see we got gold status, and student experience, we had silver. So although we are a very research intensive university, we still value teaching incredibly highly. So, and this is evidenced by our test status of silver. So we really try and implement and regard education on the same level as we do with our research output as well. So that's generally about UCL, and it's also been ranked for 12 years now in the top 10 universities. So it's an excellent university to be at, both student experience, research, teaching, career prospects is all up there. However, that's UCL in general. We are the MSc Cancer degree. We are based in UCL's Cancer Institute. So we are part of the Faculty of Medical Sciences. So we are in our own right a division. So what we can see here are the divisions within our faculty. So we have the Cancer Institute. We have, sorry, I'm just moving my camera across. We have the UCL Medical School. We have the Division of Surgery, Intervention and Interventional Sciences. We have UCL Divisions of Infection and Immunity, UCL Divisions of Medicine, and the Eastman Dental Institute. And often what we see is we do interact with one another. So it's very collaborative, it's very interdisciplinary. And as we said, as I previously just said, cancer is such a huge field within UCL. We have our own division. This is all about the Cancer Institute here. So we are based in this lovely building here. So this is where I'm based. So I'm based on the 6th floor in the education team. But it's a huge building made of over 400 scientists. So I'm based in the education team as well. There are approximately 50 group leaders and over 100 academic clinical fellows here as well. So not only do we have scientists from an academic background, we also have scientists that have come from the clinic as well. So because we are in such close proximity with the hospital across the road, I can literally look across and see the clinics right now. we have that very close translational link with clinicians, with the patients. So it's a great two-way interaction between the science and the clinic. But when it comes to teaching, we do have teaching in the Cancer Institute, but because our courses can be quite large, we teach all over campus. So we teach all over Bloomsbury, different buildings. So you won't always be based in the Cancer Institute. Okay, so the Cancer Institute itself, it's, like I said, there's over 400 people working here. It's actually made up of 5 divisions. So firstly, we have cancer biology, we have clinical trials, hematology, oncology, and pathology. So they're all led by different people. And when it comes to your research project, you can choose projects from either of these 5 departments. And within each department, there is a huge amount of research groups within them. And again, there's a lot of collaboration between the divisions across the UCL Cancer Institute. So it's a great environment, a great community to be part of. So it's all well and good about bench to bedside. So I've spoken about how we can range from basic biology to drug discovery, to molecular and cellular mechanisms. We have a lot of research going on within this building. We have a variety of different successes that actually translate from the bench side to the bedside through this nice diagram shown here. So you get the scientific discovery, you get the proof of concept, so whether this is used in particular lab techniques, and then you can actually, if successful, and the proof of concept meets your hypothesis, you can then develop preclinical models. So we are very lucky that we have what's known as the Good Clinical Lab practice lab in the Cancer Institute itself, so based on the ground floor. And because we have that division with clinical trials, it is very easy for collaborations to actually progress the preclinical models into early phase trials. So we have the Center of Clinical Trials, which is based on Tottenham Court Road. And so there's this constant talk between all of the groups to try and really get the bench to bedside translational pipeline running. So what is key and I think very unique within our institute is that we're very multidisciplinary. So if you just see here, there's a list of different areas areas of research that the CI or the Cancer Institute carries out. So there's I'm sure you're all aware at the moment, there's a huge burst of research in artificial intelligence. And that is really influencing the landscape of cancer research. So it's a very exciting field at the moment. We have collaborations with nanotechnology. So there's a lot of collaborations with the engineering groups as well, medical physics, life sciences, bioengineering, bioinformatics is a huge research output from the Cancer Institute. And this is evidenced with a lot of recent Nature papers on cancer evolution using these cutting edge technologies and the latest in bioinformatic techniques and using AI as well. So a huge benefit of the Cancer Institute is the links with the Francis Crick Institute based in King's Cross. So we often have talks from Francis Crick employees coming to the Cancer Institute, giving their talks in a particular seminar series. So it's great to have that link with the Francis Crick. And again, I'll explain further a particular project that the Francis Crick is working on. So UCL and the CI specifically has also been really successful in spin-out companies. So we have, for example, the CAR T therapies, we have particular antibody drug conjugates and spin-out companies such as Achilles as well. And we have those PIs still working in our Cancer Institute with their research group. So they have that kind of industry link as well, which is great to have. But all of these would not be possible without our key educational programs. So we are focused on the MSc Cancer. That's the program I teach on, and that's what I lead on. It's really about training the next generation so that we can continue this cycle from bench to bedside, and continuously promote education. It's a huge sector within the Cancer Institute as well. So that brings me on nicely to our MSc Cancer course structure. So it's a year-long course. So it starts on September and it ends in September. And this structure is slightly different to what our current course looks like, because I'll explain, we have an additional module in term 2. So in term 1, we have 2 core modules. So all students have to take these 2 core modules, and they are named for basic biology and cancer genetics and cancer therapeutics. So essentially, we know that we have applicants from a variety of different backgrounds. We've had medics, we've had nutritionists, we've had nurses, biomedical scientists. So we need to make sure that all of the students have the same level playing field when it comes to their knowledge of basic biology and cancer genetics and cancer therapeutics. So this is really getting you up to speed with the molecular and cellular detail that you need to know going forward throughout the rest of the degree. So these little arrows here just indicate assessments. So for both of these core modules, we have 2 assessments, so they're both worth 50%. So we have a clinical trial assessment, we also have data handling assessment, and both of these core modules have an MCQ exam in January. So this is, like I said, it's catering to all backgrounds to ensure that everyone is up to speed with cancer biology, and it's really built around the cancer hallmarks. So I'm not sure if you've heard of the cancer hallmarks before, but we really try and build across the content around the cancer hallmarks, and then how you can therapeutically exploit these cancer hallmarks as well. Okay, so that's term 1. So both of these are worth 30 credits. We then move on to term 2. So we have what's known as the specialist module, which currently is cancer immunology and immunotherapy. But for your intake, so for the 24-25 intake, we also have a second optional specialist module, and this is known as multi-omics and cancer evolution. And so the reason why we've introduced this new module is to keep up with our research output. There's a huge amount of research being published from the Cancer Institute around multi-omics and around cancer evolution and how cancers can actually evolve in response to certain treatments. And then we also have 2 other optional modules. So you can choose between cancer clinical trials and behavioral sciences in cancer, both worth 15 credits. They both have just 1 summative assessment. When it comes to the 30 credit module here, the specialist module, there's 2 summative assessments. And then finally, to end the taught module components, we have a compulsory cancer research skills. So this is more about your transferable skills that you need as a scientist to take forward in your career. So it's all about critical evaluation of data. It's all about communication styles, presentation styles, and really key skills that you need for your career. And then finally, we have the research project. So this research project is a full-time project for about 3 to 4 months, depending on when Easter falls. This is like I said, full-time throughout the 4 months, and you get to work in a research lab within the Cancer Institute itself, or labs that are affiliated with the Cancer Institute. So we had some students working at the Royal Free, for example. We had some students working in labs in King's Cross, over in the hospital, and so on. So not all of them will be based here, but they will have some affiliation with the Cancer Institute. So all of these modules equate to 180 credits. with the research module here holding the most amount of credits. So it's 60 credits, the research dissertation. Okay, so that's a whirlwind tour of the structure of our course. So what about the types of teaching activities? So we try our best to, use educational research and keep up with the latest teaching techniques to cater for all learning styles. So what we pride ourselves on is the different teaching styles that we have within the course. So we have these face-to-face small group tutorials. So these are weekly in the core modules, and they will vary in the term 2 modules as well. So it's really a chance for the students to gain confidence in smaller groups, have that more intimate environment where they can learn from their peers as well. It's more peer facilitated learning than it is with the lecturer. We have a few face-to-face lab practicals. So we have 2 lab practicals. The reason why we have these practicals is just to get everyone up to speed. Some students may not have had any prior lab skills. So these are really key to carry out before doing the research project. We have face-to-face lecturers. So we try our absolute best to make sure everything is face-to-face learning. And in only certain cases, we will have asynchronous material. We also have these weekly Meet the Researchers talks as well. So every week we have a session with a different researcher. That could be a PhD student, it could be a postdoc, it could be a clinician. And it's really about them showcasing their research and their career, how they got there. So the students have a chance to interact with scientists in the CI. We have evidence-based medicine workshops. So these are full-day workshops in the core modules. They really help with understanding clinical trials, how you break down clinical trial papers, and really about critical evaluation of the data that they produce. And then we have a variety of different online quizzes. We have further reading. So we really try and pack all of these different techniques to enhance your learning experience as much as possible. So that's all about the teaching. So what kind of research are we producing at the Cancer Institute? So you might be aware about some of these clinical trials that have made the media. So we have, for example, this one down here is the ICONIC trial. So there was a huge amount of funding that has been awarded to one of our clinicians to try and understand how you can therapeutically target osteosarcoma, which is a very rare bone cancer. And you can see immunotherapy. So one of our huge research outputs is in immunotherapy, particularly CAR T therapy as well. So for this instance, this is a PD-1 targeting immunotherapy. And of course, we also have another clinical trial ongoing in collaboration with the Cancer Institute about cervical cancer as well, and different treatment options to try and improve overall survival in cervical cancer. And this is what I was alluding to earlier about our links with the Francis Crick Institute. So there's this huge international clinical study called the TRACER study. So this is tracking cancer evolution through therapy. And it's a huge international collaboration to try and understand how lung cancer patients, their cancer cells, how they actually evolve with treatment. So they have regular samples being taken, so pre-treatment, post-treatment, if they relapse. So there's a huge push to try and understand the genetics, at the protein level, the epigenetic level. So it's a huge research area which uses AI and which uses bioinformatics. And so within our course, we have a lot of researchers working on the TRACER study, either giving lectures or giving workshops, or you have the opportunity to work with them in your final research project. So this is just a snapshot of the research that's carried out. We have a variety of different cancers, ranging from breast, prostate, leukemias, glioblastomas. So there's a lot of coverage on different types of cancers as well. And so these are a few examples of the recent cohort that just, is about to graduate next year. They submitted their dissertations, and I thought it would be a good idea just to show you a few of their titles. So, for example, here we have investigating protein partners of MYC, essential for its oncogenic role. We have rapid CAR-T manufacture for clinical application. We also have a systematic review as well. So when it comes to your projects, we have a variety of different types. So we offer both a wet lab project and also a dry lab project, so that it caters for students that want a more bioinformatic, literature-based, coding-based project, whereas some students, of course, want that real time in the lab as well. So we cater for both types of students. And we also have, this was a really interesting project. So it was in collaboration with the Anthony Nolan charity. So looking at umbilical cord derived mesenchymal stromal cells and how this could be used in the clinics as well. So you can see there's a variety of different projects that we can offer to cater for all students. So yes, so what is the career perspective? So what is next? So it can be quite daunting when you're joining the course. You're probably thinking about what's next. But it's all about learning, enjoying the moment, enjoying the content, and then things do fall into place. So this is our flagship course from the Cancer Institute. It has been running for 12 years now. So we've got graduates going into so many different sectors, and that is because of the variety of skills that we offer on the course. So you will be successful in critically evaluating scientific literature. You will be successful in experimental planning and design. You'll have experience in both wet lab and dry lab skills. So even if you don't go on to do a dry lab research project, in the cancer research skills module, we offer workshops on the programming program R, for example, and how you can create phylogenetic trees, for example. So you have that, you have those skills anyway, even if you don't go into too much depth in your research project. And we have a variety of different assessments as well. So we give you the opportunity to present your work. So we have a poster presentation, and we also have a presentation on your research project as well. So as you can see, there's a wide range of skills that you can get once upon graduating, which can lead to a variety of different careers. So for example, we've had graduates that have gone on to postgrad medicine. So recently we had a graduate go on to study medicine at Oxford. We've had many students go on to do PhDs, so in Cambridge, in America, quite a lot of success stories there. Some students want to go into teaching, so whether that's primary school, whether or not that's secondary, or they actually want to go down a lecturing route. That's also an option after this course. Of course, postdocs go on after your PhD. So we have postdocs in the Cancer Institute, for example, that would have done the MSc Cancer. We've had graduates go into biomedical science marketing, so completely leaving research altogether, but going still within the sector, but in the marketing capacity. A lot of our graduates go on to do research technician roles or research assistant roles, whether that's in UCL generally or within the CI. So we still have a lot of graduates from our course still working at the Cancer Institute. And funnily enough, we had a careers day today where there was a lot of alumni presenting their experience from our course. So that was great to see. We also had, this is quite an interesting job. So recently, one of our graduates went on to be a disease specialist at Bloomsburg, which is very, very unique and very exciting as well. We have scientific officers as well. So one of our graduates is successful in getting a job at the Institute of Cancer Research in Sutton. And there's a huge area for AI and healthcare, so within industry. So these are just a few examples. There are many more, like medical writers, for example. So the list really is endless, and the opportunities are endless. And what we tend to find is that these jobs always kind of crop up through networking with their supervisors in their research projects as well. So I'd just like to close on that. So this is just a few photos from the previous cohort. So we try to create a supportive environment. We have many socials throughout the year that we put on. So we've got our end of term social on Friday. We try and create that community so we can keep that connection post MSc as well. So that's everything from me. That was quite a lot of information to take in, but I'm happy to take any questions if there are any. And it's been my absolute pleasure to promote our MSc Cancer course. And I hope that you found it interesting. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for that informative session. I think we can start the Q&A part of the session now. So if anybody has any particular questions, feel free to ask. And I also just thought I'd mention that if you have specific questions for Sarah or our guest speakers, the students, then you can say that specifically in the question.
Maybe if there aren't any questions yet, it would be good to get our student reps. So we're very fortunate to have two of our student reps from our current MSc Cancer here. So we have Mary and Abba, who are currently on the course. They have a great first-hand experience. So I don't know if any of you would like just to say a few words about your experience so far, and any advice, and then we can go to if there's any questions that come in through this meantime. So Mary or Abba, if you don't mind.
I can start. Hi, my name is Mary. I did biomedical sciences at Queen Mary before this course, and I applied because I wanted to do an MSc rather than an MRes because I wasn't sure about doing research yet. So if that's you and your position, I definitely recommend this course because it gives you a very broad overview of cancer in general as a topic, but also as well as all the differing paths that you can take afterwards. And so I'm really enjoying it so far. I've been, because of how it's structured, I prefer it I like this more than my undergraduate course. I struggled a lot more in my undergraduate course, but the way this is structured, you have more time to work on your coursework. It's one at a time, one module at a time, and I really enjoy all the lectures. I really like the fact that it's in central London and we have different lectures in different places. So yeah, it's been great so far.
Thank you, Mary.
I can go. Hi everyone, my name is Abha. I did my undergrad in biomedical sciences from the University of Manchester. So I did the industrial placement undergraduate. So I worked in industry for a year and I'm doing my master's in London now. Yeah, just to like add to what Mary said, the course is really well organized, which is I think what I like a lot. So we get like weekly tasks and they're like really well laid out and it covers like a wide breadth of like cancer research, starting from like the basics, which Dr. Sarah goes through, and then just like the cutting edge stuff. And I think we're really lucky to have a really good faculty at UCL as well. So it's not only limited to professors from the Cancer Institute, but also doctors, pathologists, and so on. So it gives you like very well-rounded, kind of exposure to like the field of cancer, but also like the translational side of it, as Sarah mentioned. I think for me, what personally drew me to this course over other courses was, as Mary said, I wanted to do a dot course as well because I wanted to learn a little bit more about cancer. But also I feel like this course has a really good focus on clinical trials, which I was personally really interested in. So Mary and I have like a submission now, one of our formatives on like clinical trial assessment, and that's been really good. We had a workshop given by the director of the Cancer Institute, which we're really lucky to have, and then we have a module on clinical trials as well, which I'm really looking forward to. That's the optional module. So yeah, that's it for me. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer as well.
Thank you for that, Abba. We actually do have a couple of questions. So the first one was, do any of the student reps have help with funding? And if so, how did they go about it?
Oh, answered. I think that has been answered. So does any of the students ever had in with funding? So I'm not entirely sure if that what that refers to. Do you mean funding for the course? In terms of, as far as I'm aware, in the UK anyway, I don't think we have any funding available for the MSc Cancer. But I know, for example, other countries may sponsor their applications and their course fees. But I don't think that's the case for the UK applicants. Okay. So what are you looking for in an application? So I don't deal with the applications. So applications are done through admissions, UCL admissions. But I would suggest, having a general interest in cancer research. So why you want to do this course, what your career perspective. The essential requirements are on the website. So I think they've been posted in the chat. So they have, you need a minimum of 2:1 or equivalent from a different university outside of the UK. So yeah, it's just about showing your passion really for the degree and essentially why you want to do it. What's your interest? Are there any other questions? Is the course intense? How does the university facilitate features? I would say yes, the course is intense. But both student reps can comment on this as well. We try our best to accommodate for obviously coping with the amount of workload. We do have a lot of facilities available to help with academic writing, for example, promoting your CV as well. A lot of asynchronous material that will help consolidate the content. We have a lot of tutorials every week to help recap the lecture content to really ensure the students have understood the content. So we try and accommodate as much as possible. I don't know if Mary and Abba want to comment any further on that.
Yeah, as Dr. Sarah said, we have a lot of opportunities to consolidate our learning every week. And I think, yes, it is intense because it's a master's course, but personally, as I said before, I'm really enjoying it because of how it's structured. It really helps doing one module at a time. Even though we have a lot of lectures during the week, I enjoy that because it does feel like you're learning a lot. And yeah. I don't know if Abba wants to add to that.
Yeah, no, definitely agree with everything the two of you said. I think if you're interested in the subject, then it's not gonna, it almost doesn't feel like too much, because I think doing a master's is about being passionate in a area like a subject, and I think everyone in our course shares that passion. So it's actually quite dynamic and lectures are really interesting. So I think in undergrad, you treat lectures like a bit like a checklist, but when you come to a master's level, they're more like seminars. So they're a lot more interactive. The cohort is a lot smaller. So I would definitely say in terms of the content, you have to approach it a bit differently. But if you understand that approach, which I'm sure you would, because if you're applying for the master's courses, then I think it's not that much about completing the course and managing the workload, but it's more about how much you can learn and how much you can take away and how much you can network with your lecturers and like pick up the opportunities that are being given to you, which in this course, there's loads of opportunities that you get to like interact and network. Yeah.
You've got another question. So is 5 months enough to complete a wet lab project?
So firstly, it's I might have not made that clear enough, but it's not 5 months. It's actually between 3 to 4 months. So it's typically around 3.5 months actually in the lab, and it's that buffer time to account for the write-up as well. And yes, this is definitely enough time. I mean, it's not a PhD project, so you really need to manage your expectations. But the dissertations that we've had in the past have been absolutely incredible, and they've led on to, you know, future PhD projects. They've brought in more future fundings, and so they've been a really great in-depth wet lab project. And in most cases, you're working with experts in the field. So even if the work that you do does not meet your hypothesis, you've still gained an incredible amount of skills. So it is a fantastic opportunity and definitely enough time.
Okay. Next question. So is the research project one of the only opportunities you get to specialize your work into a pathway / protein / cancer type you're interested in? Are there opportunities to work / shadow in lectures, professors' labs during your studies or holidays?
Okay, so this is a good question and one that often crops up quite a lot. So no, not really, because this is an MSc taught degree. You have to accommodate for the fact that we have taught modules which are full-time. So these are Monday to Friday. If it's not lectures every day, time has been allocated for independent study or completing your assessments. So there's no real time outside of the research project to interact with your interact with students, researchers in the lab. However, you do have a month off in around Easter time. So if you wish to do some shadowing, that is completely your choice, and you can reach out to someone that you're particularly keen and interested in working in. So you have the opportunity, but then you go straight into your research project. So there's not a lot of time to do a shadowing unless you do it on the weekend or you know, within that Easter break.
Yeah, thank you for that, Dr. Sarah. I think we've got another question. So somebody's asked, is there any support for students with disabilities, such as adjustments in learning or exams?
Absolutely, yes. We accommodate for students with a variety of different disabilities, and we have this thing called SORAs in place. So we put reasonable adjustments in place for to adapt for your needs, and whether that's with the lectures, whether that's with the content, or whether that's with the exam. So yeah, 100% yes for that.
If anybody has any further questions, feel free to ask. We've also been sharing some links in the chat as well, so have a look at that as well if you're interested.
Okay, I don't think there's any further questions.
Yep, I don't think there's anything else. We do have a bit more time, so I guess if the panelists want to share some, I guess, like tips to how like succeeding in this year for the students who do apply, maybe we could do that before we close the session off.
Yeah, of course. I guess for my from a different perspective, from a staff perspective rather than a student, I would say don't get too caught up in what's the next step or what am I going to get on this assessment? Don't be so driven by, and students get very tunnel vision with the marks, or I need to start applying for the next step. Whereas that kind of distracts you from actually enjoying the learning that you're doing right now. So you need to take it as an opportunity, as that probably you'll never have this experience again. You'll never be able to learn from these experts in the field who really enjoy teaching, who really want to educate the next generation and have them in their lab. And we have a very supportive educational team here as well. So we're really the link between the researchers and education to ensure the students get the best experience. So you know, I may be biased, but I think that we try and incorporate all of those factors to really make the student experience as enjoyable as possible, which is really evidenced by our feedback as well. So yeah, that's my perspective. I don't know if Mary and Abba have another from a student perspective.
I think if you are passionate about the topic of cancer and you want to learn more about it, and you're not sure whether you want to stay in research or not afterwards, definitely apply. I think it's a great course. I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, I think go for it and apply for it. And yeah.
Yeah, I don't have much else to add. I did want to say something about the application, like the personal statement kind of thing that you have to write when you submit your application. If I could give one tip about that, I would say that as an undergraduate, you could have had some like research experience when you did your dissertation, or maybe you did like an internship, or maybe you just did like labs during your undergraduate course. If you were in a scientific course before this, I would definitely say try to build on that, try to really showcase what you can bring to the table as a researcher, because any master's course, regardless of whether it's an MRes or an MSc, it is like a step up into academia. So I think that it really helps if you can kind of like talk about what you have done up until this stage as a scientist. And I think that could really like, enhance your application, make it more competitive. So you don't have to have like a year of research experience. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying try to like build on what you have learned as a scientist and then talk about that in your application. And that's a tip from me.
Those are really useful tips, I think, for everyone listening. I think we've got some general kind of like admin questions, such as what the average acceptance rate is for the program. I'm not sure if got the statistics for that.
I don't have the statistics for that, unfortunately. I'm not the admissions tutor, so I wouldn't have that information, unfortunately. So I wouldn't want to give a inaccurate figure as well. So
I think usually on the UCL website, for any of the courses you're interested in, they do tend to have some kind of information about like acceptance rates. So if you have a look on there, or you could send an email as well, I think that'll definitely be followed up.
yeah, that's a good tip. Thank you.
Okay, how long does it take for the applications to be considered?
Again, I am not sure on the time frame. Like I said, admissions is outside of our department. But I would say probably because deadline closes April time. So post April, you should hear back.
Perfect. Someone asked, is it possible to graduate from this course and to go into a more broader research area that's not particularly cancer related?
Absolutely, yes, 100%. A lot of the skills you learn are so transferable, and they're not disease specific at all. So you can go down the rare genetics route, for example. You can go into neurological disorders. The list really is limitless. It's you can go down so many avenues.
Just wanted to add that you can contact the admission via the link that's just been shared in the chat. So hopefully that should be useful. Does anyone have any more questions? Be happy to answer. If there aren't any more questions, yeah, let me check if there's any more. Yeah, I don't see any more questions in the chat. So I think at this point we can kind of close the session off. I just wanted to thank Dr. Sarah as well as Maria Angela and Abba for giving this informative session and answering the questions. So if there's no questions, I'd just like to say good evening to everyone. Good luck in your applications, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.